at 2,100, at 2,200, at 2,200, at 22 and bid at 2, at 22 are we all done 3, at 23 and bid at 3, at 23, at 23 and bid at 3, at 23, at 23 and bid are we all done at 23, at 23, at 23 and bid are we all done at 4, at 24, at 24 and 5, at 2.5, at 2,500 and bid at 5, at 2,500, at 2.5, at 2,500 we all done at 2.5. All done, last chance at 2,500, we all done and selling at 2,500, we all done at 2,006, at 2.6 and bid, at 2.7, at 2.7 bid, at 2.7, we'll go up in 50s, change it to 50s, at 2.7, at 2.7 bid, we'll take 2.750, at 2,700 and selling, at 2,700, are we all done at 2,700, at 2,700 bid, we all done last chance, selling all the way at 2,700 once, twice, all done at 2,750, 2,750, at 2,800, you just can't over the bell, at 2,800, I'll take 50, at 2,800 and bid, at 2,800, are we all done at 2,800? 2,800 and bid, at 2,800, we all done at 2,800, all done, selling all the way at 2,800 for lot number 5, sold at 2,800. Lot number 6, here we have the car, Toyota Corolla car 2004 with 200 straight away on, at 200 and bid, at 200 and take 50, at 200 and bid, at 200 bid, at 200 and bid at 2, at 200 and bid are we all done at 50, at 250, at 300, at 300 and bid at 3, at 300 and bid and selling, at 300 and bid are we all done at 3, at 300 and bid, at 300 and bid at 3, at 300 are we all done at 300, at 300 bid at 3, and selling and we all done at 300, at 300 bid at 3 and take 50, at 300 and selling 50, at 350 bid, at 350, at 350 bid and selling, we all done at 350 last chance, selling all the way at 350 euro once, twice, selling, sold at 350 euro. Lot number 7, the 2006 silver 130 tractor. Again, here we start 10, 11, at 11 and bid, at 11 bid, at 12 and bid, at 12 and bid, I take a half, at 12 and a half, at 12 and a half bid, at 12,500, and 13,000, at 13 and a half, at 13 and a half, at 14,000 and a half, at 15,000, at 15 and bid, at 15 and a half, at 16,000, and 16 and a half, 17,000, and 17,000, at 17,000, and selling, 17 and a half, and 18 and bid, 18 and a half, 19,000, at 19 and bid, at 19 and a half, at 19 and 20, at 20,000 and bid at 20, at 20 and bid at 20, have I a half, at 20 and bid and selling, at 20 a half, at 20 a half, at 20,500 bid at 25, 20,500, I'll take 1, at 20,500 and selling, 21, and 21 and a half, at 21 and a half, have I 2, at 21,500, at 21 and a half, at 21 and a half and bid a half 2, at 22 and bid, at 22 and bid at 2, at 22 and selling, at 22,000, have I a half, at 22,000, at 22 and bid at half, at 22 a half, at 22 a half, at 22,500, at 22, 23, at 23 and bid at 3, at 23,000, at 23 and bid at 3 and a half, at 23 and a half, at 23 a half, have I 4, at 23 a half, are we all done at 23 and a half, at 23 and a half bid and selling, are we all done at 23,500, don't lose for a bid, at 23 and a half and selling, are we all done at 23 and a half, 24, at 24, at 24 and a half, at 24,500, at 24 and a half, 4,500 bid at 24 and a half, at 24 and a half, are we all done at 24 and a half and selling, at 24 and a half thousand. Last chance, at 24 and a half thousand, we all done once, at 24,500, 25,000 bid, at 25 and bid at 5, at 25, have I a half, at 25 and selling, at 25 and bid at 5, at 25 and bid at 25, at 25 and bid at 25,000, at 25 and bid are we all done, at 25,000 last chance, at 25 and bid at 5, at 25 and selling, all done last chance once, twice, 25 a half, at 25 a half and bid at 5, 25 a half, at 25 a half, have I 6, at 25,500, at 25.5, at 25 and a half, at 25,500, we all done last chance, at 25,500, all done once, twice, last and final call, 25,500, sold, 25,500. Next up, lot 8, the Zaxxas 70 digger, huge amount of inquiries and interest in this. Again, we're in at 10 and 10 and a half already, at 10,500, at 10 and a half the last lot of the day, at 10,500, 11,500, at 12,500, at 13 and a half, 13,500, at 13, 14,000, at 14 and a half, at 14 and a half, and bid at 15, at 15,000 and a half, at 15, at 16, at 16,000 and a half, at 17, at 17, at 17 and a half, at 17 and a half, at 18, at 18,000 and a half, at 18 and a half, 19, at 19 and bid, at 19 and bid, at 19,000 and selling, at 19,000, at 19 and bid, are we all done at 19,000? Have I a half? At 19,000 a bid, at 19 a bid, at 19,000 and a half, at 19 and a half, someone fill it up, and we have at 20,000. At 20,000 and selling, at 20 and bid, at 20, at 20 and bid, at 20 and bid, are we all done at 20, at 20 and bid, at 20,000 and bid, at 20, at 20 and bid, at 20, at 20 bid, have I a half? And the market and selling at 20,000, at 20 and bid, at 20,000 and bid, at 20, are we all done at 20,000? At 20 and bid, at 20, give me every chance, at 20 bid, at 20, we'll bring down the offers to 200 if we can. At 20 and bid, at 20,000, I'll take 2, at 20 bid, 250, at 20, I'll take 2250, I'll take 2250 if we get it, at 20,000 and selling, are we all done at 20, at 20,000 a bid, at 20, are we all done at 20 and selling, all done, last chance at 20,000 euro going once, at 20,000 twice, at 20,000, the last lot is sold at 20,000. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, a great way of selling with the online auctions. We hope to have more machinery auctions going forward, with estates that are being sold, or indeed if someone wants to retirement or whatever. So, and you can contact our office here for further inquiries. And congratulations bought lots today. Thanks for all who helped, particularly Pat and Michelle, who've done a huge amount of work ensuring for the viewings and evening this morning. And congrats to all who purchased, and those who didn't purchase, you can contact our office here for a return of your deposit. So thanks very much, and we look forward to meeting you all in the coming weeks. Thanks.